if you decided to choose Pogranichnik as your 6-star selector option, don't feel bad. He's an absolutely amazing choice, and the only one who comes close in this pack is Last Ride. But I would argue that he is the best choice in the pack because he has a lot of future potential where he has made himself into a staple in the physical team unit. Now, the difference is the fact that you don't want to use him as your sole consumer. You actually want someone who also crushes. Because in a physical team, you stack vulnerabilities and then you want someone who consumes these stacks. However, someone who does breach, like Pog, would actually want someone who crushes as well, like Endman or Panda. And this is very important, and I'll teach you why right now. So when diving into Pog's kit, we're being told that it can apply breach. However, what we actually want to know is how much damage do you do per stack consumed? So this multiplier is not being shown in the game whatsoever. I can click on breach, I can click on this magnifying glass, and nowhere in this interface you will not be told how big the multipliers are. Because why does this matter? It matters because when building teams, you know that you want someone to consume vulnerability stacks, right? But why would you not just use Pog as your sole consumer instead of, for example, Endman or the Panda? I like Pog more, so I'll make him with Li Feng, Chen, and then Adelia. Why can't I do that? Now I'll tell you why. The difference is that in the description for Pog's kit with breach here, it says that, first of all, that it can consume all vulnerability stacks, deal physical damage, and temporarily increase the physical damage taken. Now, we don't have any exact numbers for what those numbers are, multipliers. On Endman as well, the difference for Crush is a bit different. It says consume all vulnerability stacks and deal massive physical damage. Now, I'll tell you the difference between breach and Crush is huge, absolutely huge. And you're not being told about it anywhere, and this is just the approach that Arknights have chosen to go with when it comes to skill descriptions. But the difference is huge, and the only way to access this by digging around is to find the exact reaction or skill on the Wikipedia, and I'll be diving into that right now. So I'm on the Endfield Wiki.gg, which is an unofficial Wikipedia made by fans, right? And it works pretty much like what you would expect from a Wikipedia. And I went to Pog's section, and it is what you would expect, right? It has a profile, it has base stats, essential material, and then his potentials. It describes everything. So I went to his battle skill, and I was hoping to see the damage multiplier per vulnerability stack consumed for breach. But it again just says it's a 2-sequence slash, the multiplier for each slash, but there's no multiplier for the breach reaction, right? Even if you go to the physical status here, it doesn't tell you. So what I actually tried doing was to search up the reaction, breach, and it is described here. You have breach is a physical status in Arknights Endfield, and it actually shows me the initial damage multiplier and how it increases per vulnerability stack consumed. So at 4 stacks consumed, you will deal 250% physical damage, and you will also increase the amount of damage that the enemy takes by 20%, and the duration also gets increased. Now, with this being shown to us, we can actually optimize our combo for Pog, Li Feng, and whatnot, right? And I thought, okay, I still want to use Pog as my main physical damage dealer. I want to consume stacks with him. Like, the difference between breach and Crush can't be that big, right? So I search up Crush, and I see that it's a whopping 500% bigger multiplier than breach, right? At 4 stacks consumed, you're dealing 750% damage multiplier, which is an insane difference. Now, having a team with Pog as my main consumer is not ideal. You can do it, but you're missing out on so much damage that Crush can do. And on top of that, when you use breach, you will increase the damage taken from the enemy, right? So what you actually want to do is have this damage multiplier where they take increased damage, and then you want to Crush for 750%. So that just means that Pog's best team includes him and someone who has Crush, like the Panda or Endman. And you are actually not able, or well, you're still able to, but a team like Pog, Li Feng, Chen, and Adelia is no longer that optimal anymore. because you don't have anyone who takes advantage of the crush, right? You actually want someone who does crush in the game. And let's just dive into that section now. So in the end, why does this matter? It matters because it means Pog's ideal team needs someone who has crush, like the Endman or the Panda, because Pog will increase physical damage taken, give you more SP, and then have someone who deals this massive crush physical reaction. And you know, another reason why it matters is because there's been recommendations where you use Pog as your sole consumer. On paper, I would have done the same, until I figured out what these multipliers were and how massive the difference was. I wanted to use a team like, for example, Pog, Li Feng, Adelia, and Chen. Like, this is a great team on paper, right? Because you have people who stack vulnerability, and then you have a consumer like Pog. But now you realize that you're missing out on 500% damage multiplier, which means Adelia is likely just being replaced here with someone like Endman or Panda, right? This is a better team because you're taking full advantage of the breach and you have crush in the team. Another reason was I wanted to use him with a team where he was the sole consumer, like Pog, Chen, Gilberta, and then Perlica, right? I made a past guide where Gilberta, her kid, pretty much, she gets an increased art susceptibility with her ultimate based on the vulnerability stacks, right? So if you got 4 stacks of vulnerability for Gilberta and then you pop the ultimate, she's gonna get the maximum amount of art susceptibility. And I just figured a team that had a consumer and a stacker and then Gilberta and then someone who deals arts damage, that's perfect. That is how you take full advantage of Gilberta's kit. But, you know, Pog is not doing his max damage. I'd be better off using Endman instead of Pog, right? Because he also increases physical damage dealt, and the only one dealing physical damage would be Chen in this case. So you're kind of like missing out here, and what it just tells you in the end is that, you know, he's better off being used in a full physical team. And I also considered some other units because, first of all, a reason why Gilberta was considered was because she's able to apply lift through her combo, right? And she's 1 out of 3 units to be able to do this, which is Chen, Gilberta, and then Ember, right? And I wanted to use these units, right? First of all, Chen is being used no matter what. She's a stable for all physical teams because she's able to do this vulnerability through her combo. It's very valuable to be able to save SP in this game. And then we have Gilberta and Ember. I wanted to use Ember because I have her on my account, but the fact that Pog requires another crush unit means that he becomes kind of narrowed. You can't really, he doesn't have that much flexibility. I mean, he's still a good unit for physical teams, but he wants someone who has crush, right? So you already have Pog, and then you have Chen. She's used in all physical teams, and you're missing out, honestly, if you're not using her. And then you want someone with crush. This means that you already have 3 slots taken up, right? You can slot in Adelia, but if you got someone like Li Feng, or you put in the Panda, they are just better because they're able to stack vulnerability up more than, for example, Adelia, right? Obviously, you'd rather have one consumer that has crush, so either Endman or Panda. But, you know, at the end of the day, what this means is the fact that you have an optimal team with Pog, and he is probably better off not being used in these teams that don't take advantage of breach and crush. But yeah. With that, I think we can move on to a final conclusion. So to conclude this, I now know Pog is definitely still an absolute insane unit. Don't feel bad over choosing him. I'm very happy for everyone that loves Pog got to get him and play him. But what this ultimately changes is that some teams are less optimal. You can obviously still use them. There's not any challenging end game that is, you know, going to be extremely hard for us right now. But if you want to optimize, right, there's a lot about optimization in gacha games, but at the end of the day, you know, just play whatever makes you happy. But if you really want to optimize, Pog does want someone with crush, and he increases physical damage taken, so you will likely just want a full physical team so everyone in the team can benefit off of Pog. Personally, I wanted to use him with Gilberta because I got her, and unfortunately, I'm better off using Endman or the Panda for Gilberta if I want 2 physical units. in a Gilberta team. But yeah, with that out of the way, I think that concludes the video. I hope you've learned something new, and that, because this is very under the ground, these multipliers, you have to actually dig for them to find the multipliers. And I've watched a lot of videos and stuff about Pog and all that, and there's not anyone mentioning these multipliers, and I think it's important to get it out there because it changes things. It changes what's most optimal, and he's not just a consumer, he's a breach applier, right? And for breach, you want a full physical team, at least in most cases. And yeah, with that, I think that wraps up everything, and I'd like to thank everyone for watching. And again, if this was of help or you enjoyed it, feel free to like or subscribe. I really do mean it when I appreciate every single one of you. The amount of support I've gotten is honestly kind of like surprising to me. I didn't expect the amount of support I've gotten, and I really appreciate all of you. And yeah, thank you all for actually now I've hit like above 100 subscribers, and this is obviously a very little number compared to a lot of people out there, but you know, it means a lot to me, and I appreciate you guys a lot. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you guys around. See ya.